Hi, how you doing?
Hello.
Hi. How's it going? Good. How are you guys? Great. Pretty hectic day so far. Sorta. Just being, shuffled from place to place, and it's a different environment. But it's been good.
Looking forward to the premiere tonight.
I am.
Are you going to be there? There's a panel.
Right. Yeah.
Are you going to watch it with the audience?
Yeah. I think it's a thing where we watch it, and then there's a panel, I think, afterwards and stuff like that. I think that's how it is.
So you've directed several DC animated movies in the past. What do you think is unique about this one?
This one is actually quite different than most of the ones that I've sort of done in the past. It's a lot more of a comedy, and it's set in the Bruce Timm Batman the Animated Series universe, but it's sort of this. It kind of goes off on this different path, and so I think the humor element and how far are we going to go with it, and I think that was the most challenging thing about it. And I think it went a little further than I thought it was going to go. So it was. It took a little while for me to sort of, to kind of find the edges of kind of where this world is.
So in the last decade, Harley has really taken off. I mean, popular, but gone to just an extreme level. What do you think it is about Harley that has really caused her to take off so crazy in the last decade?
Wow, I don't know, because
it's baffling.
Obviously there's sort of a there's a weird, I don't know, it's weird because she's so extreme, but there's a realness about her, I think. There's an apologeticness to her, but it's a really weird line because obviously she's a really psychologically damaged, victim, but she has, I don't know, it's hard for me to understand.
It is hard because I was like, I can almost say she's eclipsed Catwoman, up there with the Joker, Riddler, and Penguin as like right up there in the big four now.
Right.
And it's like, but this all happened within the last 10 years. She just took off like a shot.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of things. Socially, I feel like that you can touch upon, and they're kind of okay. And there's certain things that are not okay, and she's perplexing to me. And this is just my opinion but I haven't really had a conversation about this with like Bruce or any of the other creators. But there's a lot of things that I feel like that touch upon this line where I was like, that's potentially inappropriate. You know what I mean?
Right.
People could like really hate that, yet somehow she's embraced. I feel like but I wonder if a lot of it's just because of her. There's an innocence and I think a pureness about her insanity.
Yeah.
It's like she is not necessarily conniving, and she's just trying to get by, and she's going about things. She's chasing her emotions honestly, I suppose, or she's chasing her insanity honestly. And so maybe that's a level of endearingness, but also sort of she's willing to kick a lot of ass and kill people for that, so she sort of just does her thing, and she's kind of unapologetic about it. And I think there's an element of that, maybe that's, I don't know, that's maybe not on like an intellectual level, but maybe on some sort of like core emotional level that it resonates with people.
Thank you.
So that's my opinion, I guess.
And how do you think having a new actress voice the character, what has that brought to it?
I think I think Melissa brings like a different facet, I suppose, of Harley, which is maybe a little bit meaner in a way, a little more aggressive, but she still, I think, retains all the sort of things that I was kind of talking about. There's a genuineness to her. There's sort of like it's like there's no real plan. She just kind of goes with what's happening at the time. She's just reacting, but she does it genuinely. I feel like I don't think there's a lot of sort of like devious planning. But I thought Melissa did great. Definitely, I feel like brought a different sort of energy. But again, her read is so genuine and honestly funny in certain places. And I don't know. And to me, anyways, that's really the core of who she is, as misguided as she is.
So, you brought back a lot of the original cast members from the original Tim universe.
Right.
Other than Harley and Ivy, was it a conscious decision not to go back to those original cast members for Harley and Ivy?
Let's see. I think. Well, specifically, what happens with the DTVs, there's a marketing element, that sort of happens because it's not really like a series, right? A series, it gets greenlit and you sort of just make it, like these DTVs is solely reliant upon demand, right? Are people going to buy it or not? If people don't buy it, they're not going to make these. So a lot of times the marketing element is how do we put something fresh? How do we potentially attract, people potentially outside of our normal demographic? And so they try to get like people that are either from TV series or from something that's like that's related but sort of from a different, like I suppose. And so so a lot of sort of like the stunt casts, right, which is basically the people that are going to sort of go out and sort of like pay more money. That's from a different like TV series that have a certain amount of popularity and stuff like that. They try to get this in as a sort of marketing element, which is not to say that they are not deserving for it or they're not. It's purely on marketing alone. Because obviously it's like us as creators, they have to be able to sort of do the job and do it convincingly and do it well. But a lot of times, yeah, they don't because of marketing. I guess that's the short answer.
The DC animated movies have seen kind of like this continuing thread. Do you think that this could be a start of a new kind of thread to go through and like sequels, like where it continues to lead to other movies?
A lot of it again depends upon sales. The sort of continuity thread ones was sort of based off of when James Tucker came in and he was he's producing elements of it. It's like James produces some and then Bruce produces some, and James's decision was to, just because it's really hard to build because we make so many, we make at least 3 a year, and every time, unlike a series, like every new thing we have to create a new universe with new characters, potentially a new design, and set up new things. And so I think James was kind of, because we're doing so many of them, he wanted to sort of make them a little bit more loosely connected, so we don't have to reestablish a new universe, so we don't have to redesign stuff. But the thing with Bruce has chosen to sort of do more one-offs, but a lot of it also depends upon, because again, like Gods and Monsters, if Gods and Monsters had become way more successful, I think that would have been more of a series, so again, things like this, it is sort of, it's based off of the Batman the Animated Series universe. If it does well, then the most likely, again, most of it starts from marketing, will be continuations of it.
What's the dynamic between Harley and Batman and Nightwing?
I sort of look at it as like Batman, the regular universe is Batman the Animated Series universe, the animated series universe. Harley is the X factor that basically takes everybody into chaos. And so Batman is still trying to be Batman, but because of the Harley element, he gets pulled into these really strange situations where he's got to answer childish questions, he's got to deal with, tantrums or whatever. So, like Nightwing and I think Batman become different just because they have to interact with Harley, and Harley is basically throwing everything out of whack. So,
Awesome. Thank you.
okay.
Transitioned Dick Grayson from Robin to Nightwing, and I was thrilled that they brought him back for this film, because it's been my dream to reprise that role. I always felt the show ended too soon, and there was so much more to tell. There was so much more of the story to tell, and for whatever reason, they ended the show. But this is like the show all over again. It really is.
How much time has passed in between?
Gosh, I don't really know. I lost count. I actually, after the Batman series, I did some voiceover work, but mostly for the last 20 years, I've been an on-camera actor in movies and TV shows.
I'm dying up here.
Yeah, thank you. Did you see it?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
And I'm really excited about this new show on Fox called Orville, which is Seth MacFarlane's show.
Yeah.
And I had a very nice part on that, and that's coming out this fall.
Looking forward to that.
So, I'm a huge Nightwing fan.
Oh,
I
look
have
at that.
it tattooed on my body.
Wow.
Your Nightwing and your Dick Grayson has been an inspiration.
Thank you.
How does it feel to go back to the character?
It felt like no time passed. You were asking the question, how much time? It felt really like no time passed. And I know Kevin felt the same way with our relationship. We hadn't worked together for a long time, although he and I have been doing a lot of Comic-Cons together. But so we've seen each other over the years, but we hadn't really worked together. And it was like we were back in the good old days. It was great.
How did you inform the character when you first kind of were developing the Dick Grayson? Like, was it going back to the '60s? Like, where did you?
Yeah, definitely. I gotta take my hat off to Burt Ward because that's the show I grew up with. You know, that was the Batman and Robin, and I was very little when that show was on the air, so I took it very seriously. I didn't know it was a tongue-in-cheek thing, you know. So, and I was always afraid on Tuesday night when the show ended that he was going to die maybe on Wednesday. You didn't know, and of course that was not possible. Just like our show, it was never possible that nobody got killed in our show. Do you realize that? Because that was a restriction by the network. Nobody could be killed. So I took my cue from Burt Ward and started there, and then went forward.
You've always been like the lighter side of the show. And from the trailers, it looks like you get a lot more comedy in it. So what was
That's what I love about this script. When I first got it, it's full of comedy. It is really, really funny, and that's how I started in the business. I started in sitcoms and in comedy theater. I was on stage. So whenever I see something that's funny and truly funny, I'm very excited about doing it, and it is truly funny. A lot of times you'll get a script and say, "Oh, this is a comedy." It's like, no, it's not. This was definitely a comedy.
Do you think if they ever made a solo Nightwing animated film, you'd come back to voice the character?
Do you think I would do
Do you
it?
think you'd come back to voice the character if they ever made a
Do you
solo
think?
Nightwing?
Is your question? Would I love to do it?
Yes.
I would, absolutely. Would I get an opportunity? That's out of my hands. But I would absolutely love to do it. And they were talking about when the show ended, a Nightwing spinoff, and it didn't happen. Maybe it'll happen now, especially with the live-action Nightwing film coming out, and especially now that we have two generations of fans about the old show. The people who originally watched it, and now they're kids. Because at a lot of the Comic-Cons, they come up to us and they introduce me to their kid, and they say, "I watched the show with my kid now." And they've seen the old ones enough. We need new ones. They've seen each one like 50 times.
So going back to the original, I've been fascinated by this whole idea. There was no live-action reference for the adult version of your character.
Correct.
And you had all this comic material. Did they give you a lot, or did you basically have to say, okay, where would Dick be at this point in his life based on these things that have happened to him? Does he keep his cynicism? I mean, does he become cynical, but does he keep that wisecracking sense of humor? That must have been very difficult to say, how do you age him, but yet keep him identifiable to the Robin that we all know?
Well, it was one of the few times in my career where it really was all there in the script.
Okay.
It really was there. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times you have to come up with a backstory and try to bring a lot of reality to it because it's not there. Right. In this case, it really was. Every week that we did the show, it'll be very, very clear. We get a script originally that's written like a movie script with all the descriptions of the scenes, like it's a movie.
Sure.
So, in the same way that you would get a good film script or a good TV script, if the character is all there for you, it's wonderful, and that's what happened to me with this.
Did you read any of the Nightwing comic books when they were coming out?
I was not a comic book guy. I mean, I had nothing against comic books. It was not my interest. Since then, of course, I've become very versed in the world, but when I first was cast, and people are often surprised about that, they say, how could you have been cast as Robin without having read any of the comic books? But it's true.
Fresh take, though.
What?
A fresh take.
Yeah,
What it
that's
is,
true.
yeah.
That's true. I wasn't jaded.
Well, just like your, oh, go ahead. I was going to say, just like, so you originated Nightwing for us, and then you have a character like Harley Quinn who was just kind of there a couple of times, and now are you surprised by her development as a character and how far she's come?
Well, I went out and got the comic books when the show came out, and so I have, the whole series that's related to our show. And somebody told me recently that number 12, which is the one where Harley Quinn first appears, is like worth a fortune. It's like, so it really exploded in a way that her popularity, like nobody predicted. I don't think the people who created Paul Dini, I don't think they predicted that it would happen that way. But you go to a con now, and every other woman is just like Harley Quinn. A lot of Nightwings too, though, by the way.
Yeah.
Very happy. Male and female. So.
What's it like for you to have this character that's lived on for so long? Kevin's known as the Batman. Everybody says that your voice is iconic with that character. So what's it like for you as an actor to be on icon for that?
It's really flattering, and it's really an honor. I'm friends with Kyle Higgins, who wrote some of the Nightwing books, and he said that he heard my voice as he was writing the comic book. That's really flattering to know that my voice says Nightwing to so many people. I'm always humbled by that.
Are you surprised at all that it took so long to finally get him a live action film? Because he's one of the most popular characters.
Yes, I am, and I'm hoping that this is the beginning of a whole new, Nightwing in culture, the way that Iron Man and all the other characters have become popular recently, even though they've been around for a long, long time.
Can you give us an I'm Nightwing
I'm Nightwing?
to compete with the
Yeah, he said he's Batman, but I'm Nightwing. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Oh my
at this
God.
table?
Okay.
How'd you like it?
I'm happy with it. It's fun because it's sort of a lighter take on the story, but it still has the weight of Batman. This darkness of the drama of Batman. But because of Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, it just starts going off the walls. So it's fun that way. It's balanced. It's a balanced story.
You can tell there's a lot of humor in it. How was that?
There's a lot of humor in it. It's fun. Batman, you can't play the humor. You play humor and you kill it. You always play the reality of the situation and you let the humor kind of revolve around you. So Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy get to do most of the humor. But I get to do takes on it, sort of the cold take. But especially after doing The Killing Joke, which was such a dark film, and Mark was just so brilliant. It was fun to do one that was lighter.
Do you think the Joker killed him at the end of The Dark Knight? I'm sorry, at the end of The Killing Joke?
I can't tell you.
Okay. You can tell me.
I mean, we do know it's only Batman laughing at me.
Right.
So this was your first time working with Lauren again in like 14 years, I think it was. How was that? How was working with Lauren as Nightwing again?
It's funny. Andrea set up most of these casts, 25 years ago. And she has such a talent for hiring people, mostly who've done a lot of stage work, and people who like to work together, people who are generous. Actors are people. There are generous ones and there are selfish ones. There are ones you want to work with and there are ones you really want to avoid, you know what I mean? There are givers and there are takers, just like in the world. And she always hires givers. So it's so much fun to get in the booth with anyone. That's why Mark and I have had this sort of bromance for 25 years, because he loves it when I'm good and I love it when he's good. Because I know the more he gives me, the more I'm going to be able to give him. And I know that Lauren feels the same way. So It had been, over 10 years, but it was like it was yesterday. We really just fit right in. It was wild. Bruce Timm said that. He said, it's like the show never stopped. You all sound the same. No one sounds 14 years older, Anything else?
If they asked you to start, if tomorrow they said we're going to start the series over again, would you be lined up?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because people always ask me, what other superhero would you want to play? And I always say, what other superhero is there? I mean, he is the coolest. So I'm just so lucky. I sort of got the brass ring. I started at the top with this character, and I touched something with the audience, and I know that there's been that connection for 25 years, and it was just, it was the kismet kind of thing. It was the actor and the role and the audience. It all just kind of came together, and it made sense, and it's lasted all this time, and I'm so grateful for having had this experience. But I know that it would be so hard to top it with any other superhero. So if they asked me to do more, I would be right there.
Do you prefer the darker tone films or the lighter tones, or do you like to find a balance in the middle?
I like them both. I think I found, especially people who worked on the stage, like to be challenged. Yeah. They like to play both. I love doing Shakespeare and I love doing Moliere. You know what I mean? It's challenging. And honestly, there aren't a lot of actors who can do both, who can go to different extremes. So if you can, you like to show it off, And Warner Brothers likes to hire those actors who are good going the gamut. Anyone in this cast, in this movie, could go the gamut, a range of styles of acting. And it's just fun to do.
So this goes, sorry, can I go ahead? Okay, so this goes around full circle with Harley Quinn, obviously, which was introduced in the animated series, and now she's going to be part of this movie as well. How does it feel for you seeing how she's grown?
Well, what's amazing is how she's evolved with the audience. I mean, you walk around the Comic-Con, you see as many Harley Quinns as you do Batman. And it used to be you saw only Batman and Superman. Yeah. Harley Quinn's more popular now than, like, Wonder Woman. I mean, she's one of the top 3 or 4 most popular sci-fi characters, and that's just over the last 22 years. So that's pretty wild. And I think it's because she was written so beautifully, but it's also because they cast her really well. Arlene Sorkin, that first incarnation of that voice and the take on the character, she so nailed it, and that gave Tara Strong the chance to come in and build on that, and now you have Melissa Rauch building on. So you have different actors, but it was all, I think, informed by that original version that Arlene did. She's such a wonderful performer.
What's the dynamic like knowing that Batman is very all for justice and Harley's on the opposite side of that? How did that play out to work with such a character?
Well, what's interesting about Batman is he's all for justice, but I've often felt that Joker and Batman are like yin and yang. If fate had been a little bit different, Batman could have been Joker. You know what I mean? One doesn't exist without the other, and Batman just made the choice to go to the light, and Joker made the choice to go to the dark. So with those characters like a Harley Quinn, I think the reason that Batman understands them so well is because he's got a big piece of them in him. He understands that madness because he's got a piece of it in himself. He's really complicated. I always say he's a guy with issues. He has such issues.
So many.
That's one of my favorite scene in, remember Mask of the Phantasm, that movie? Wonderful movie. My favorite scene in that was when he's at his parents' grave because he's fallen in love with Andrea Beaumont and he realizes what love is and he wants to have a normal life. He wants to have a chance at normalcy. But he has to ask to be absolved from the oath he's made to his parents. And he's begging them in his grave. And he knows he can't. But he wants it so much to have a normal life. But he knows he's a freak inside. And he can't do it. And he just breaks down. And the thing, you see him really emotionally naked. It's one of the few times you see him that way in the whole arc of the Batman legacy. And boy, he's just stripped bare at that moment. And I loved playing that scene. But he knows there's a freak in him. And that's the part of him that relates to Harley and the Joker and all those guys.
That's the Phantasm. One of my favorites.
Isn't that a great movie? Great.
Can you talk a little bit about playing different, obviously Batman, but different versions of Batman? Like we were saying, comedy, the serious, the very serious injustice. What are the little intricacies that you try to bring to each?
I think it's just fine tuning how dark you get, how light you get, but the secret has always been to be consistent with the character. It's really the story more dictates that. The Killing Joke is so dark, such a dark world, that no lightness really even comes in, you know what I mean? Whereas this one's the other end of the spectrum. There's a lot of color in this one, a lot of light. But the trick to me has been to be consistent with the character.
Going on that, do you think it's the consistency that they're writing, or do you think it's they're writing it around you? Because your portrayal of Batman has been such that when you think about him in Justice League or Justice League Unlimited or the animated series, there's that, even in Arkham Knight and all those, they're all pretty consistent around your performance. So do you think you've influenced it more than...
Have you ever met a writer? Do you know the egos that writers have? They say actors have egos. Writers have egos. You say what they write. No, I'm just kidding. But no, they're not writing to me. They're writing to their own imagination of the character, and I just try to bring it to life. But thank you for thinking that they do that. It's very flattering, but I don't think they do.
I know you worked real briefly once with Adam West.
I got it. We got it. Hold on.
The co-screenwriter of Batman and Harley. And here we are at the press junket.
So what was it like for you to take a heavy character like Batman and flip it to more of a comedy than we're used to?
Well, I've been working on a show called Justice League Action, and we have been making Batman a little bit more comedic. And Kevin Conroy is our Batman. He's really enjoyed it, and he is a very funny man. And so, we can't push Batman too far. He's not wacky. He's not Will Ferrell. We're not doing Anchorman. But he's great at being wry, and he's great at being a little bit sarcastic, and you kind of don't know if he's serious, and he's done it wonderfully. And the difference is that this is Kevin and Bruce's Batman from Batman the Animated Series, which is, I don't want to say it's serious as a heart attack, but it is certainly a more serious take on it. It was a very film noir look and very sinister and foreboding. So there was some sensitivity to let's not mock this, let's not just do a wacky comedy. So Batman is still Batman in this, than the Batman we know from BTAS. But in fact, if anything, he's become more rigid, so that Harley, who is a total wild card, almost your id, clashes against him and becomes funny. They become an absolute perfect odd couple. They're great foils for that.
So these characters got a lot of miles from a lot of miles on them. What are you bringing that's going to be new that hopefully after this movie is going to be added to the Batman lexicon or the Harley lexicon?
Well, I think when people buy multiple copies of this movie and light up the internet with how much they love it, I think my employers at Warner Brothers Animation will say we should do another funny Batman movie and bring these people back, because frankly there's a lot of grim and serious in the DCU right now, and maybe a little comedy wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So I hope so, because this was super fun to do.
So, on this movie, you worked with the iconic Batman cast. You worked with Warren Lester and Kevin Conroy. How do you feel like that helped your writing
for this movie? Well, it was like being dropped into a world that you're already familiar with. If you had to suddenly write, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, you kind of know how they sound and what the cadence of their voice is and what sort of things they would say and what sort of things they wouldn't say. And this felt a little bit like that. I got to jump into the world from Saturday morning a couple decades ago, and it was like an old friend.
So given where the story started back with Batman the Animated Series, where Harley developed, was it easier then because you had so much more room to work with such a character who doesn't really have, she has a story, but she doesn't have the level of backstory that everybody else does, so does that give you more freedom to play around with her?
Well, Harley's already such a free character. She didn't need to be liberated any further because she is a cyclone. She's chaos incarnate, and but yes, I think it's the popularity of the character and the fact that so many people know her. It was fun to kind of go back to that original look, and there are a few jokes in there about ways she's been reinvented. That Bruce is playing with, and I think that just adds a level of kind of complexity and interest to the character. That was a super legal answer. It made me absolutely nothing. That's all right. Well, believe me, I'm just a co-screenwriter. You're not. There's only going to be one quote from me. Everybody else is going to be Kevin and.
What else have you written?
Oh well.
I apologize. I don't know anything.
No, it's quite all right. I wrote. As I said, I'm on Justice League Action. I'm the producer writer of that. I was the producer writer on Green Lantern, the animated series. I wrote. Flashpoint, Justice League, Flashpoint Paradox, and I did, and that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Oh, well, let me shake your hand.
Well, thank you very much. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
What's up?
So this movie took you back to the universe that you helped create 25 years ago.
Yeah.
How did it feel diving back into that universe after so long away from it?
It felt pretty good. I mean, it was kind of like going into the closet and finding that old security blanket that you used to sleep with all the time and just wrapping yourself up in it and going,
Were you able to do things that maybe occurred to you afterwards, going back and saying like, gosh, I wish we had approached it this way back then, and now I can go back and
Well, not as such. I mean, one of the things that was kind of an incidental happy accident with this movie was the last version of Batman the Animated Series that we did was the New Adventures of Batman, where we had Dick Grayson grow up to become Nightwing. And it always kind of bothered me that we didn't get more of a chance to put Nightwing in more stories. Because I thought he was a really cool character once he became Nightwing. And so this was kind of just another opportunity to bring him back and do something more with him. But it's not like I gotta put in everything that I've been wanting to do into one movie. It's just kind of like, no, it's just one more chance to kind of go back and just have some fun with these characters. Because I gotta emphasize, it's a very light story. It's not full of a lot of drama and angst and world-shattering events. It's a comedy. It's an action comedy, but it's more of a comedy. So it's definitely different than any of the other movies that we've done. But it was just a chance to go back and just have some fun with these characters.
What's it like to be one of the few people that can say you added somebody to the history of DC, to the Batman legacy?
Well,
and to see that character grow over the years.
It's interesting. She was never intended to be anything more than just an interesting henchman for the Joker, because we got tired of the Joker's henchmen always just being, overweight guys in business suits or looking like the Three Stooges or whatever. So Deanie's idea was to have, we'll have a cute girl be one of the henchmen, and we'll give her a, kind of a clown motif like the Joker. And it's like, okay, that sounds good. But when we actually saw her animated on the screen and with Arlene's voice, it was just kind of like, yeah, there's something there. So we kept bringing her back, and she kept getting more and more popular, and here's all these 25 years later, and now she's like huge. So it's kind of crazy. What's it like to have a new voice voicing that character?
It's great. I loved Arlene Sorkin dearly. If she hadn't retired from playing the character, she would have been my top choice. And Tara Strong has played Harley before. She's great at her, and so is Hynden Walsh. So I would have been happy to use either of those wonderful ladies. But our home video friends, part of their marketing strategy is to stunt cast some of the major parts wherever we can. So we brainstormed a big long list of actresses we thought could possibly play Harley, and I wasn't really feeling it. And then I ran into my friend James Tucker at Warner Brothers one day, and I just mentioned what we were going through with our casting woes. And James said to me, "You know who you should use? You should use that girl from The Big Bang." And I went, "Well, duh," because I watch the show all the time, and I love her on that show. And I thought, yeah, I can totally hear her playing Harley. So she came in and played it, and she's a absolute charming, delightful person to meet and to work with, and she hit it out of the park. She did exactly what we needed to do. She's funny, she's cute, she's sexy, she's vulnerable when she needs to be, and she has some other hidden talents which I don't want to talk about. But she's great. She did exactly what I wanted. So I couldn't be more delighted with her. Anybody else? Are we done? Come on.
No, yeah.
I think we're still good.
What Mad Love is now 25 years old?
Getting close to it. I think it came out in '93, but yeah, close.
What were you involved in the process of translating it from the TV script to the comic book?
Well, it started as a comic first. Yeah, Paul and I came up with the idea of doing it as a comic first. We did the comic, and then a couple years later we adapted it to the animated series.
And that was to kind of introduce an origin for Harley?
Yeah. One day, Paul and I were having lunch, or dinner, I guess it was dinner, and he mentioned to me, he goes, I think would be an interesting twist is that if she started off as his psychiatrist. And I went, wow, that is an interesting twist. Nobody see that coming. That's really interesting. And so we pitched it to DC to do it as a comic. And they said, yeah, that sounds great. So we did it.
And that's where your best ideas come from, dinner? Just shooting from the desk?
You never know sometimes.
Yeah.
You've done some heavy movies, some lighter ones. Where do you want to go next in general? Like, where do you see yourself going with these movies, and what would you like to see?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the default setting is the more darker stuff. I mean, we can't do comedies too often because I think it's just, comedy's really hard. It's really hard to do a comedy. And I don't even know if this movie's, it may throw people because if you see a Batman movie, you buy a Batman movie, you expect it's going to be a Batman movie. You don't expect it to be, funny. So hopefully people will, be happily taken by surprise by it. But we're going to end up doing a lot more apocalyptic, dark, adventure stories, I'm sure.
What do you have coming up next?
I am not allowed to talk about it. I am sworn to secrecy.
You've met and worked with Adam West?
I did, long time ago, in an episode of the Batman the Animated Series. We did an episode called Beware the Grey Ghost. And he played a character called the Grey Ghost. And it was one of my childhood dreams come true to get to work with Adam West. That was awesome.
Yeah. Could you describe him in 5 words for me?
No. I couldn't describe. Adam West means so much to me because he was my Batman. He was my gateway when I was a kid to superheroes in general. He was the first Batman I ever saw, the first superhero I ever saw. I love that show dearly, and he means more to me than I could even put into words.
A lot of that going around. Thanks.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you. Thanks. Iconic role. Can you tell us a little bit about that in this movie?
Yeah. I'm sure you've heard the summary of this film. You now know what this is. So, what I have to say about it is, I got a phone call saying, would you play Poison Ivy, Bruce Timm, and I said yes. So then I started getting scared. Am I going to do a good job? Are they sure they wanted to offer it to me? Start research, read everything. It's a complicated character. It's a complicated backstory. But the really interesting thing is this relationship between Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn loving each other and being friends, and end up having to fight each other for what could be the destruction of the human race. So I just loved that they both believe what they believe and have to fight for what they think is right, even though that's fighting against someone they love.
How much did you explore the character after you got the role? And let's start with that. Did you do any exploration of the character, looking at her backstory?
Yeah, it's a lot. You know what? I did not look at other performances because I knew I would hear or see someone way better than me, and I wouldn't be able to do it. So, I mean, I think I'm good. I think I work hard, but there are so many. Especially voice actresses that have played. Same thing with Melissa. I'm sure she tried not to listen to other Harley Quinns because it's scary. You don't want to steal from them. You don't want to go opposite them, and you don't want to get so intimidated that you show up and you're just a pile of jello. So it wasn't a study of the performance of other people. I studied her backstory and her relationships. And then I bought on eBay the issue 181, which was June of 1966, where she was introduced into the Batman pantheon, and I got it for cheap because the little girl who owned it wrote her name on the front. And it smells like an attic, but that it felt great, to see her for the first time. How she was introduced, and then I think it's really exciting that because Bruce Timm and Paul Dini created Harley Quinn, they then, I don't remember when, went back and created her origin story, which was that Poison Ivy rescued Harley Quinn from an earthquake and took care of her. That's how they became best friends. So it's a relationship that's very deep and profound. And in this movie, we see them have to go after each other. Oh, I don't even know if I answered your question. I think I just rambled. Okay. Maybe some of it can be used. Okay.
What aspect of Poison Ivy's character kind of intrigued you the most when you were doing that research?
This sounds very bad, what I'm about to say. I understand why she wants to do what she wants to do. I believe in her mission. Do I want to murder everyone on Earth? No. But when she says, look at what mankind has done to the Earth, we need to return the Earth to what it was purely before what is essentially, we're a cancerous species. We have grown. There's too many human beings on Earth. That doesn't mean I want everyone to die. I think the other side of humanity, yeah, we consume too much, we create a lot of garbage, but we're also such an advanced species because of what we provide and create and do for each other. So love and art and creativity and music and caring for each other is the reason why we should survive as a species. So that's, even though Harley Quinn is crazy out of her mind, she's right to want to protect even Poison Ivy, who's gonna kill everybody because she believes in her mission. She doesn't want to kill Harley Quinn, but they're both right. So it is a little scary to say. I am passionate about what Poison Ivy believes in because I also believe in that, but I also believe in what Harley Quinn believes in this situation. So is that the duality of human? I don't know, but we are hurting the Earth, so I get it. Oh wow, I talk a lot.
No, that's good.
I'm so sorry. Oh jeez. All right.
Being part of the whole Batman pantheon, have you had some great experiences with that so far, or how does it feel to be in that?
I really like these guys, but this is the first time that I've met Lauren Lester and Kevin Conroy. I never reported with anyone. And Kevin Michael Richardson. They're so funny, and I listened to all the interviews of Kevin Conroy, of Fat Man on Batman, and all these other. So to meet him, and then he goes into the voice, it's just it feels like And I know, I'm acting like a child. I'm 48 years old. Like I'm a grown woman, but it feels like, oh my God, I'm with the big dogs. These guys are real. It's obviously I'm gonna need a nap. Cause it's
overstimulating.
A little bit. I mean, this place can be overstimulating.
Well,
you guys must have been down
I
on the
want to
floor.
ask you about that because actually you and I met in 2000 for the specials.
Oh my gosh.
And so there was, this was about a third the size. So your popularity,
Oh, yeah.
your career has grown and you stayed in touch with the nerd culture. Could you have predicted that? How does it feel that you are so
I honestly,
connected?
I never saw Comic-Con becoming what it is now. And I came as a fan with like Mr. Show guys like Brian Posehn, Rob Schraub, and I don't know, there were a bunch of us. We came for years. Like 97, 98 to 2004, I think, as I love that I'm part of an anime